Sorry, I know I'm late tonight. I had a rehearsal that I'm gonna get Instagram kicked up over here, and then we will be good to go. Let me just make sure it's coming through. Thank you all for your patience. I don't even think we didn't have a live stream last week, did we? There we go. All right, welcome to Let Him Cook this week, everybody. Tonight's going to be kind of chiller than normal. The last few editions of this, I had some guests with me. We were making carne asada with David. We were making deer steaks with Jacob. This week it's just me back in the studio again. And like I said, I'm starting a little bit late because I had a rehearsal that went long and had to get through some traffic. And I didn't even have time to get cleaned up before I started this. So tonight I'm going to be making a single serving, just sort of Asian inspired soup that I make as a way to get myself to eat more vegetables, if I'm being honest. But also I'm going to start with the chickpea and cucumber salad recipe that I got from Sarah. I just need to get some vegetables in me, so we're going to start with that. But before that, I need to wash some dishes. I got dishes in my sink. I washed some dishes in my dishwasher earlier. It's just been a really busy day, so a chiller stream today. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys as usual. And the thumbnail theme for tonight is Top Gun. So I got my aviators here. We'll take a shot for that a little bit later on, and we'll do our thumbnail competition as usual. All right, I need to put up some dishes and start washing some dishes while you guys filter in. But you will be happy to know, those of you who are music fans, that we are setting a release date for my new song that's coming out with Tehila featured on it. And we are looking at June 26th. I'll let you know when that's official, but I am 95% sure that's when that's coming out. Callista, I feel the need. That's right. Top Gun references. You know, I haven't seen the original in a long time, and I haven't even seen Maverick since it came out. We took my grandpa. This was a lovely recent memory. We took my grandpa to go see Maverick in the theaters, and he really enjoyed it. My grandpa's going to be... goodness, that plate looks a little sketch. No, that's all right. Grandpa's going to be 86 in August. He was born in August of 1940. He was in the Army stationed in Germany in the late 1950s. That's when he met my grandmother. And she came to the United States when she was 17 years old. They got together very young. But it worked out, because here I am. But yeah, Grandpa really enjoyed Top Gun Maverick. And I may have seen it one other time since then, because we got him, I think we got him like the DVD set for Christmas a couple years ago. But I don't have a lot of references on hand, because it's been a minute. Gosh, I'm so far away from the camera when I'm over there. Sorry, guys. Like I said, tonight is a chiller stream. I made some more passion fruit green tea earlier today, and I got some mason jars from my friend. So I have a bunch more mason jars now, which means that I can get some little tea deliveries to those of my friends that actually live here that ask me for them on occasion. Because I have more jars with lids now. So shout out to Cameron. Thanks for those extra jars, buddy. I appreciate it. Gotta set them out to dry right here. So this kind of like Asian inspired soup that I'm making tonight, it's just kind of something it's my own concoction. It's basically some vegetables, whatever vegetables you like. Normally I will do carrots, sometimes green or red peppers, broccoli, sometimes onions. I don't know if I'll be able to use the onion tonight, because I'm going to start with the chickpea salad. And then the broth is kind of like whatever I can throw together. Some beef bouillon, some soy sauce, coriander, garlic, just kind of whatever works together, right? Don't overthink it. Callista says, I saw the first one when I was 13. I wasn't a fan back then, but I am now. Yeah, and I mean, the first one is definitely an 80s movie. It feels like the era in which it was made. If you were in Top Gun, Callista asks, what would be your sign? Oh, gosh. That's a good one. That's a good question. So the only ones I know off the top of my head are, like my call sign, yeah. So obviously you have Maverick, you have Goose. I don't really remember any of the other guys. Was there a Snake Eyes in there, or is that just G.I. Joe? Well, one of my instincts is to say Power Spike. That is a little bit juvenile. I understand that. It is a little bit teenagery. But it's a screen name that I have had on video games for a long time. Like a lot of the times when I'll set up a new account for a game that I'm playing, I'll use Power Spike, Powerspyke. And I know, like, the spelling almost makes it even more juvenile. I get it. But one of the reasons that I like it is that nobody else ever has it. I never have to put numbers with it or whatever. I am usually, on any given server, the one and only Power Spike. So that's one I've lived with for a long time, and I would probably default to that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think griffins are cool, the mythical creature. So, like, griffin, I think, would be a cool call sign. Yeah. Oh, Iceman. That's right. That's right. One of them was Iceman. I should have remembered that one. That's Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer. Iceman. Yeah, so probably Power Spike, or if I had to pick like a mythical creature, I think Griffin would be cool. But that might be a little try hard too, you know? Might be trying a little bit too hard to sound cool. But I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad about it. Chris Gomez asks, are you cooking? Yeah, so tonight, I'm actually making 2 different dishes tonight, but because I got a late start to the stream, I'm starting kind of chill and getting these dishes out of the way. I'm going to be making kind of an Asian-inspired soup recipe that, honestly, I just kind of made up. But first, I'm starting with a chickpea and cucumber salad. It's a recipe I got from my friend Sarah, who may join us on the stream. Sometimes she's in here. Viper, Slider, Wolfman, Jester. Okay, yeah. Like, if there can be a Viper and an Iceman, I can certainly be Power Spike or Griffin, and it's not a big deal. So that would be kind of neat. Yeah, so we'll start with this chickpea salad. It's a very simple recipe. I'm gonna wash my knife because we're gonna use this knife a lot tonight. And I just had some dishes that were left over from earlier, and I didn't want to start the stream any later than I already had, so I figured I will just wash dishes on stream, dude. All right. So let's start with this cucumber and chickpea salad. Very simple recipe. No cooking, no baking involved. Phoenix. That's a good one. Phoenix is a good one. Okay, so let me read the recipe to you. There's not really a recipe for the second thing we're making tonight, but I usually like to give you this up at the top. So this simple chickpea salad is 1 can of chickpeas rinsed, 1 cucumber, 2 Roma tomatoes, half of a red onion, which is perfect because we can then use the other half when we saute our ingredients for the soup. 1 to 2 avocados, 1 to 2 limes, generous salt and pepper. And you really just chop it all up and mix it all together. I really believe that it's better the second day. It's good when you make it fresh, but once the ingredients have had time to mingle a little bit, I don't know, I think it's better the next day. When more people join in, ask that question to them. What would be their call signs? Love that, Callista. Thank you, MC Callista, for helping me keep the content popping tonight. Yeah, so if you are in the YouTube chat right now, I see we've got a handful of folks in there. If you had a call sign in Top Gun, what would your call sign be? That's the question of the night. That's what's to get the conversation going. In the meantime, let's break out our vegetables. Everything is still in bags over here. We have our 2 avocados, avocados. We have a couple of limes. Make sure you guys can see what's happening over here on the countertop. Set these bags to the side. Abby! What's up, Abby? She says, I feel like that's how it is with all soups. They need to sit in the fridge. Well, I'm really talking more about this chickpea salad. I feel like when it sits in the fridge, it does a little bit better. But this soup that I'm making, the soup is actually a little bit better fresh, I think. I'm excited about the soup because I think I've made it on stream before, but it's been a long time. And it's so approximate. Like, you can kind of just throw whatever you want into it. And as long as they're like savory adjacent things, it'll basically work. I hope that's not a giant bad spot on one of my 2 tiny Roma tomatoes. Look at this. I'm going to have to cut that out. I ordered my groceries, so somebody picked this out. It's okay. It looks like it's salvageable as long as that doesn't go deep into the inside. And then this one, okay, this one's okay. It's a small tomato, but it's a mighty tomato. Abby says, I showed up mid-recipe. I thought it was soup you were reading off. No, Abby, I'm starting with the cucumber and chickpea salad you've seen me make a handful of times before because I just need to make that too. I got the ingredients for it. I wasn't going to make it on stream, but now I kind of have to while the ingredients are still good. And then we'll transition over to the soup. So we're making 2 smaller things tonight instead of one big thing. Destiny in Instagram says, Sam, I have a picture I need to give you. Awesome. Yeah. Well, you know, if it's probably one of when I was at your church and it's like us posing and smiling together, feel free to send that over my Instagram DMs. My Aunt Julie says, I need that recipe. Which recipe? Do you need the chickpea salad recipe or the soup? Let me know and I can send it to you. Okay. I have all of my vegetables laid out. I just need to grab my can of chickpeas too. You guys already know what it is. I am chopping an onion tonight, so the onion saga continues. The chickpea salad, yeah, I can send that to you. Super easy. Super easy. Once it kind of mixes together, it has a flavor that is similar to guacamole, but a little bit fresher. So I am going to have to wash at least the tomatoes and this cucumber, get the sticker off of these guys. That tomato is going to need a little bit of surgery. Also, let's get that can of chickpeas out. I have this can of just Bush's baked beans in my cabinet, just so that I have like some non-perishable food for if the power ever goes out. I have a can of peaches in my fridge and I have some Bush's baked beans. It's just chilling in there. So one of the first things we need to do is we need to drain and rinse our chickpeas, otherwise known as garbanzos. Excuse me, I got to put on my Antonio Banderas voice. Garbanzos, right? I've been singing all night, so my voice is a little, I've been singing all night. Better check the expiration date. No, I know. I didn't get it that long ago. It's pretty recent. I just know this stuff is pretty shelf stable. Same thing with the canned. Let's see. What's the expiration date on this guy? May of 2027. I got a whole year on this baby. I also just have some like corn. A big lump with knobs. It has the juice. Can't imagine a more beautiful thing. Woo! Eating like Stanley Yelnats if the power goes out. Good Holes reference. I can fix that. You know, I read the book when I was a kid. I read Holes when I was a kid. But I saw the movie some years after that, like when the movie finally came out. And I didn't realize that the guy playing that character, that I can fix that guy, is Dulé Hill. It's the actor who played Gus in Psych. So when I revisited that movie, like as an adult, not that long ago, or I think I may have seen memes with him in it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Gus. So Callista says, I came up with the question of the stream, and Callista, you don't know what yours would be. Well, you're gonna have to figure that out. So tonight's thumbnail competition theme is gonna be Top Gun. Like I said, I've got my aviators over here for it. And Callista has a question for the entire stream. If you were in Top Gun, what would your call sign be? Like in the movie, you have Maverick, Iceman, Viper, Goose. I told her I would either use Power Spike. I know that one's a little bit juvenile, but it's like a gaming username I've had for a long time, and nobody else ever has it, so I never have to put numbers with it. Or if could be like a mythical creature type name, I'd probably go with Griffin. Like, that's cool, right? Okay, we gotta wash some vegetables. My chickpeas are over here. They've been drained out. They're good. I have a vegetable brush under the sink, so let's just get to that. How's everybody's week been? I don't think we had a live stream last week. No, we didn't, because last week I was in Houston. Houston was cool. I got to see my younger cousin, or my oldest cousin, I guess, technically. She's younger than me. Shelby and her fiance, Logan. Logan was in the bullpen pitching for the Astros, so he snagged me some tickets. And our good friend, who sometimes jumps into the stream here, Jabney the King, was there. He was flying into Houston for work on the same day, so we all got to get together. That was fun. The reason I was in town was a whole lot less glamorous than that, though. I was there for my day job for a CRM conference. That's literally just like customer management software. So I was in Houston for maybe the most boring reason you can imagine, but I got to do cool things. The second night that I was there, I have a thing. Whenever I travel, one of the things I always feel like I have to do if I can is to just walk the city, to see it at street level, right? It's okay to do touristy things. I'm not against that. I'm not knocking it. But I like to get that organic experience of, I did it when I was in New York. I did it in Atlanta. I did it in Chicago. I didn't get to do it a lot when I was in Philadelphia, but I did it in London. I did it in Cork, in Dublin, Ireland. Just walk the city at street level. It's a very tactile way to experience any given city. So I did it in downtown Houston the other night too, which I'm aware is like the nice part of town. So I can't judge all of Houston based on just where I was in the city center, but it was pretty cool. It was beautiful. There was I forget the name of it. I think it's like Freedom Park or the Green or something like that. I gotta really cut this bad part out of this tomato. My gosh, that looks terrible. Okay, it didn't penetrate. It didn't go all the way in. So tomato innards just fell on my floor. I'll clean that up later. We're gonna start with this cucumber. Pull the trash can over here so I'm not having to reach over there all the time. All right, let's get into this cucumber. Sorry, Larry. Bob, don't watch. So really all we have to do for this recipe is just mix these ingredients together in a nice big bowl. I don't think I'm going to need my full-size mixing bowl to store this in, so maybe we just do the one step down. That looks good. I have an interesting deep thought of the day, I think. We'll save that for a little bit later, but keeping it in the front of my mind. Can't believe they would give you a tomato like that. Well, again, I ordered my groceries, and you never know the person shopping Like maybe that was the best one. Maybe the other ones were even worse, or more likely like the person shopping was in a hurry because they have to do multiple orders all at once, which I understand. They have a job to do and they're on a time clock, and they're probably just in a hurry. This knife should be pretty sharp. I think I sharpened it recently, right? Cassie, Larry, no. Just get these all sectioned out. I want to be one of those people that can cut really fast. But I just value my fingers so very much, and I would rather be safe. And since I'm not working in the kitchen at Gusteau's, I'll give myself a pass on my cutting speed. What is it the Marines say? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. That's the way I'm thinking about this. Abby says, that's why I don't shop for produce online unless it's the pre-cut stuff. I get that. I definitely prefer to choose my own produce, but you know what else I prefer? I prefer to save time by not having to drive all the way to the store, run all the way around the store to try and find the stuff, and then drive all the way back. I much prefer to have my groceries delivered, and most of the time they do pretty good. I get a fair amount of pre-cut stuff too, pre-packaged, like actually the carrots I'm using tonight. Normally I would cut my own carrots, but tonight I just have some shredded carrots that I already had in a bag, so I'm making do with what I got. All right. Have our cucumbers in there. I'm going to go ahead and add the garbanzos, the chickpeas there. Did you know that that's what falafel is? Falafel, for those of you who are fans of Mediterranean and Middle Eastern food, falafel is just ground up chickpeas fried in spices, basically. All right, let's get to work on these tomatoes. Yeah, the rest of this tomato seems to be all right. So, while I was in Houston exploring last week and road tripping back and forth, what were the rest of you guys up to? How's the last couple of weeks been for you guys? Brooklyn says, I actually just so happened to have another chunky milk. We did get a new one again. It was nasty. Brooklyn, you gotta stop. You gotta stop getting chunky milk. I have had my groceries delivered for the better part of the last 2 years, and never have I ever gotten chunky milk from a delivery. Usually they do pretty good on my expiration dates. So I don't know who your shopper is, but stop getting chunky milk. That's terrible. What's up, Edward? Edward Garcia jumping in over on Instagram. Actually, Edward, I'm glad you're here. I'm really glad you're here because usually in every episode, almost every episode of Let Him Cook, I have a deep thought of the day. Sometimes it's just something philosophical or just kind of life in general. Other times it's something scriptural. And I was just thinking before I started the stream about what you and I were talking about the other night. And so I figured I would use it. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it since you're here. I love this. Let me pull this up. So, anybody, look, I wasn't raised in Texas. I'm from the Cincinnati area. So, when it comes to the Christian faith where I was brought up, there was a whole range, a large range of denominations. Largely the town that I was brought up in was Baptist, but a large range of denominations. But I know a lot of people in our friend group, you know, we put pretty big weight on, let's say Mark chapter 11, verses 22 through 26. But there's something there, and I think that there are other places in the Bible that this applies to as well. That is just worth looking at. I'm going to be very careful how I approach this because I'm not trying to argue or contradict or come at anybody who teaches this a different way. But it's something that I heard one time and it really changed the way I think about this scripture. So we know Mark 11, 22, 23, 24, verse 24, what things soever you ask for when you pray, believe you receive them and you will have them. It's Jesus teaching the disciples about the importance of trusting God, the importance of faith, putting action with that when you're believing for something, right? But then we go to verse 25 and 26. Whenever you stand praying, if you have anything against anyone, forgive him, that your Father in heaven may also forgive you your trespasses. But if you do not forgive, neither will your Father in heaven forgive you your trespasses. And it's like, well, hold up. So that kind of sounds like if you die unexpectedly with like unforgiveness in your heart, are you in like major trouble? What's the deal? I've heard people say, well, you can't reap forgiveness unless you sow forgiveness. And I understand where they're coming from. But now I want to juxtapose that with another scripture. And it's in Ephesians. Actually, there's a couple of statements in the New Testament that sound similar to that, but I'm looking for the one in Ephesians. Give me just one moment. Ephesians 4:32. There's one in Colossians that says something very similar too. It says, "Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, has forgiven you." Okay, so in Mark 11:26, it says, "You better forgive." And this is Jesus talking. It's in red letters. I don't deny that. I'm going to get to that. But it says, "Forgive so that your Father in heaven can forgive you." But then in Ephesians, it says, "Hey, forgive just like God has already forgiven you." All right, well, hold up. Which is it? Is the Bible contradicting itself? There's a phrase that kind of biblical scholars like to use, and it's holding ideas in tension. And it's this idea that sometimes when you see something in the Bible that really and truly, like when you're rubbing your brain cells together, seems to contradict itself, you need to pause for a second because it means that there's something that you haven't yet understood, that you haven't yet seen. Here's the thing about what Jesus said in Mark chapter 11, verse 26. He said it before he finished his work at the cross. He hadn't actually gone to the cross and been resurrected yet. So what he was saying, it had a particular context, and I'm not trying to throw that whole chapter out the window. But after the finished work of the cross, after the finished work of Jesus, we aren't forgiving out of a place of duty and fear anymore. We're not forgiving out of a place of, man, if I don't forgive, then I can't be forgiven. No, in Ephesians it says we forgive because we've already been forgiven. Our forgiveness is accomplished. So that kind of gets that knot out of your stomach of like, man, if I'm still working on forgiving somebody else and I die unexpectedly, like, am I going straight to hell? Like, relax. I believe the answer to that is no. Because you've already been forgiven if you've accepted Jesus. And now your forgiveness, like everything else, is, if I want to use, and you guys know how I feel about churchy language. I'm not the biggest fan of churchy language, but it has its place here. It's out of an overflow or an outpouring of the forgiveness that's already on the inside of you. You see kind of the difference in motivation, but you see how, like, if you don't understand, you can read something that Jesus said, and red letters are very important. I don't deny that, but you can read something that Jesus said and get really scared and freaked out about it. As if like, and then people, forgiveness is an interesting subject because people are like, well, I know I'm supposed to forgive. I know I have a commandment to forgive. I know that I have to make the choice to forgive someone if they hurt me. And we've talked before about how sometimes people can hurt you because they're being malicious and evil, but sometimes people can hurt you because they're trying to do the right thing. They have no malicious intent in their heart, and it just unfortunately happens. Sometimes that can be more complicated. But we talked about that before. But forgiveness is interesting because you can make the choice to forgive and still not feel it. And so the logical response to that is, well, I guess I haven't forgiven them. Guys, let me tell you, like, I've been through stuff in my life where I've had to choose to forgive people, and there were still times for months and sometimes years after that where I would walk into the room where they were, and I didn't want to be there. I wanted to avoid them at all costs, even though I'd made the choice. I had really made the conscious choice of, I forgive this person. But you're again, to use a churchy term, to use a King James term, your flesh hasn't necessarily always caught up to that immediately, even though you've made that choice spiritually, you've made that choice mentally and emotionally. Like, Your basic human nature sometimes takes time to catch up with that. The reason it's important to know that isn't to like give you an excuse to walk around with a chip on your shoulder and say, well, I've chosen to forgive. It's just, I'm not trying to give you an excuse, but what I'm saying is I'm trying to take the condemnation and the bad feeling off your shoulders. Like if you walk into that room with that person that you said you've chosen to forgive, but your emotions say the exact opposite, literally don't panic. There's a lot of things in life like that where we make a choice, but it takes our brain, it takes the outside circumstances, it takes other things time to catch up with the decision that we made. So when you juxtapose Mark 11:26, where it sounds like if you're dealing with those kinds of feelings, you're in big trouble, Buster, with Ephesians, and there's another scripture in Colossians that says something similar, where Ephesians encourages us, hey, forgive because you've been forgiven. Then it is a result of what has been given to you and not, I'm not saying it's not serious. It's still serious. You still need to forgive. But it doesn't carry that same kind of like law-likeness about it. And I think that's really interesting. So that is that's our deep thought of the day. If you have thoughts about it, feel free to put them in the comments. I may or may not read them, but well, I'll read them, but I may or may not read them out loud. But that's the deep thought of the day. Francisco just jumped in over on YouTube. What's up, Francisco? I was just talking to you earlier. Had to give your sister a ride to rehearsal tonight because she's in the car shopping process, and I'm one of the few neighbors that live nearby. Edward says, Gospel of Grace. That's right, man. There's so many things that have A and B comparisons like that. And it can be stickier when we talk about things that technically are in the New Testament, in our King James Bible, because they're during the ministry of Jesus, which was all still done and spoken before most of was all done and spoken before he finished his work at the cross. And so I don't want to use that as some kind of cop-out to just ignore anything and everything Jesus said. No, we definitely should not do that, right? But we do want to bring into perspective, okay, what of these things do we see that have a new dimension given to them after that finished thing, you know? Abby's asking if Callista and Francisco are currently in the same house. They are siblings, by the way. So, high probability. Look at that. Look at how nice that seed came out that time. Hit it, twist it, came right out. You guys remember that time? It's probably 3 or 4 months ago now. I got those avocados that were just completely not ripe at all. And it took all of the strength and focus I had to get the seeds out of those things. I don't miss that day. This is so much nicer when the avocados cooperate. Abby said, hey bro, and I was like, I bet they're in the same house, and she greeted him online like how I text my sister what she wants to eat when she's like 20 feet away. Let me tell you a story. The day job that I have now is a completely remote job. When I'm not doing cool things like making music and playing concerts, I do have a remote day job right now until my own side businesses become my full-time businesses. By the way, if anybody is looking to take lessons on the piano, the guitar, the bass, the saxophone, or in music production, I'm looking for like maybe one more student right now. And I'm also opening up to more client work in music mixing and mastering, production, and video work. It's what I actually do for my day job anyway, is corporate video work. But I just shot a music video for our good, actually a friend of the stream, Sarah Smith Clodfelter, that came out about a week ago for the Dear Martha video. So if you watch that music video and you think, wow, this is beautiful, who shot, directed, edited, and color graded it? It was your boy right here. And I'm open to more work like that right now. So if you know anybody who's looking to have that kind of thing done, send them my way. But my day job, while it's fully remote now, we actually used to work most of us used to work in person in a house that my boss owned. And it was so funny because I was, as the media guy, I was bringing my own laptop, my own hard drive, setting up at a desk, and then tearing it all down and driving home every day. I always kind of knew we could be remote. It just took the rest of the company some time to figure that out. But it was the same kind of thing. Like we would be emailing each other from room to room in the same house all day long. Okay, all right, chat. Here's the deal. I gotta cut this. I gotta cut this onion. So before I cut this onion, let's do our thumbnail. Let's do our thumbnail pose of the day. Remember, today's thumbnail competition, you can use any tool that you want, just like every other week. Most people use an AI of some sort, ChatGPT, I don't know, Grok, Stable Diffusion. I don't know what all people are using. But I'm gonna pose for this week's thumbnail, and the theme of this week's thumbnail competition is Top Gun. So let me put on the aviators. I'm gonna hit this pose, take a screenshot, get your entries together, and DM them to me. At the end of the stream, we'll take a look at all the DMs that I have by that time, and then on my Instagram story this week, we'll be able to vote on who the winner is. Now, JL Clodfelter has kind of been sweeping things. I think he's got like 3 in a row that he's won, but it's just by the popular vote. It's just what happened. So yes, you can vote for your own if you think it's the best, or you can vote for somebody else's if you think they really outdid you. But this week's theme is Top Gun. The art style doesn't matter. It can be Vincent van Gogh. It can be cel-shaded Nintendo 64. It can be Michael Bay movie poster. Doesn't matter. Art style is up to you, but the theme is Top Gun. All right, you ready? Here we go. Alice says, cut the onion next to the sink with cold water on. I will. I definitely will do that. All right, I'm gonna hold this bowl. We're gonna just hit like a. All right, here we go. We're gonna hang on. Let me square this up. We're gonna hit like the movie poster, like walking pose. So like looking to the side. There it is. I'm gonna give you about 5 more seconds. This is always the most awkward part of the stream. Okay, hope you got your screenshots for that thumbnail competition. Take these dudes off. I actually already have one submission. There is technically no rule that you have to use the screenshot from the stream. So I had a friend, Melanie, sent me her submission hours ago already. It was pretty good. Okay, all right. I'm going to literally put some goggles on because I'm not trying to be in pain today. Let me go grab my goggles. And usually I've been using the ones from the music video, but they don't seal that well. Let's just be honest. They don't seal that well. So I'm gonna swallow my pride and use some pool goggles this time. You guys have watched me suffer for content over and over and over and over again. I'm just not doing it today. Not doing it today. We're gonna turn some cold water on, do what Alice Cornett said there. And we're going to use half of this onion for our chickpea salad, and the other half will get used in our soup. Maybe not the whole half, but a good healthy amount of it will get used in our soup. It's so tight. Oh my gosh, it's too small. It's too small. I need this to be larger. Oh, just deal with it, Sam. I'll mess up my hair. All right. Look, don't tell anybody about this, okay? Here we go. Cut the ends off. Oh, I sound awesome. This is great. Certainly nobody's going to take a clip of this and turn it into a meme. Yes, Lord Vader. He's becoming too powerful. Gotta peel that outer layer. You know, it's hard to breathe with this thing on. It covers my nose. Have to mouth breathe the whole time. Ugh. Okay, all right. We've dehusked this baby. Could you pose with those goggles? It looks like the goggles from Top Gun. What goggles from... All right. This is all you're getting. What goggles from Top Gun? Do they do like marine training or something? Like, not marine, like Marines, but like training in the water on Top Gun. I told you, I've seen the movie a couple of times, but it's been a while. All right, we got to bisect this thing. Insert danger zone music. I'll take a ride into the danger zone. Fly into the danger zone. Kenny Loggins in the house. I can't sing too much of it. I don't want to get a copyright flag on YouTube. Okay, all right. Yes. This is going pretty well. It's going pretty well. I'm feeling all right. I can smell it. There's a little bit of air gets through every once in a while because I'm talking. So I can definitely smell the onion, but it's not hurting me, which is so great. Okay, we're going to just take this whole half, break it up a little bit into our mix here. I gotta stop standing like a shrimp, guys. I've noticed on stream my posture when I am like over the sink or cutting something, I start to slowly like,
Yes, master. Yes, what will we do? We will create a man out of parts of other men. Don't tell anyone we're doing it, yes.
you know what I mean? Like just shrugging down. Stand up. I'm gonna stand up straight and just look down. I think I made these chunks of onion too big. I should have cut them more. It's going to be a funky salad. I think I can recover a little bit here. It's not a big deal. I'm the one eating it anyway. Let's cut these guys in half. Not going to worry about all of them. Trying to move quick here so that the stream isn't 3 hours long. This isn't even the main event. Oh, the eyewear built into the helmet, Callista says. Okay. I was like, I don't remember Tom Cruise wearing any like awkward dollar store swimming goggles, but okay. All right, that's gonna be fine. Now is there anything else I need to cut for this salad? Yes, there is. It's these limes. So let me go ahead and get these limes cut, set them to the side. We're gonna have to squeeze those in later. Oh, that smells nice. All right, here we go. My goggles are starting to fog up, people. Like I'm losing some visibility here. All right, second half of the onion, which we will save for the soup. Probably cut that up and put it in a vessel of some kind. And this one we can have bigger chunks because we're going to saute this and reduce them down a little bit. All right, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. All right, cool. Just get a container for those. Is that really the smallest container I have? Ugh. That can't be right. I bet I have a great line on my face now from that thing. Do I? Okay, it's not too bad. All right, glad that's over. Yeah? Where are my lids? See, I've been switching over to all glass containers, but you gotta still have the plastic lids. There we go. Nice. So we will just store these, kind of break it up a little bit, store these for later. Thank you for bearing with me during what is easily the most awkward part of the stream. Cutting onions, which somehow seems to happen like every other week. Every recipe I know uses red onions. I actually really like red onions. Love them in like fajitas. Go to Chipotle, get those fajita vegetables, the fajitas. Okay, and let's finish off this cucumber and chickpea salad by squeezing in our limes, adding the salt and pepper, and then we'll move on to the soup. All right, did you hear that? That was a good one. And you know what? I forgot to roll these. Somebody told me last time, roll the limes before you cut them. I can't be making the same mistakes over and over, Sam. You gotta grow. You gotta grow as a person. Roll the limes. Grow as a person. Roll the limes, Sam. Mature a little bit. When I was a child, I thought as a child. I reasoned as a child, but when I became a man, I rolled the limes. Anyway, we're coming up on the summer. The days are getting longer. I love that. I love long days. When I was back home, we'd go to the drive-in movie theater with some friends. She said, Abby says you could also just buy a juicer. I know. I am, to be quite honest, I've been very watchful with my budget recently. A lot of my budget goes into advertising my music right now and some other things. So I don't buy a lot of extra stuff if I don't have to. Not that I couldn't buy a juicer. I'm not like hurting. I'm not poor, but I've just been sticking really tightly to my budget. Dave Ramsey would be really proud of me right now. Yeah, buying a juicer would definitely be easier, but it would also not be as fun for you to watch, right? Can you juice lime? Oh, you're not talking about like a motorized juicer. You're talking about one of those like little plastic pieces that's like super cheap. Never mind. It like goes into a jar, right? Has a little shredder on the top, and you just sort of crunch the lime into it and squeeze and turn it back and forth. I should get one of those. That's got to be like $2 at Walmart. Yeah. I thought you were talking about like a full-on like motorized like blender juicer. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, I remember my grandma, she got on a real kick about like, she saw some infomercial about how like juicing is really healthy. And so she started juicing carrots and apples and all kinds of stuff to make like healthy juices, right? So there's this big machine, it had a spout, and then it had like a pulp exhaust pipe on the other side, and you jam your vegetables down on the top, and the juice would kind of pour out of one side, and then this pulpy stuff would all come out of the other end. That's when you say juicer, like I have a core memory about that. All right, I'm mixing this all together. Love how colorful this is, always do. This is just, as I've said many times before, a really good way to get me to eat more vegetables. We need to add a bunch of salt and pepper, because that really helps bring it all together along with that lime juice. Again, this is very guacamole adjacent. It's a lot of the same ingredients, it's just not as crushed up. You typically have to put a lot more salt and pepper in than you really think you do, just because there's so much of this stuff that it's got to get around. Abby says yes to handheld one. Brooklyn says you can also put lemons and limes in the microwave and more juice comes out. Really? I've never heard that before. Chat, can we confirm this? Can you put a lemon? Well, it's not that I don't believe Brooklyn. Let me just say that. Let me not say that I don't believe her. But let me ask if anyone else has ever heard of this before. Has anybody else ever heard that you can put lemons and limes in the microwave and you'll get more juice from them. I've never heard that before. I'm down to try it. It can't hurt anything, right? But I've never heard of them. So for those of you who may not have been here at the beginning of the stream, we're looking at a release date for my new song that features tequila. Probably June 26th. That's the day I was talking to the label about today, and I've got to get them the resources for that by the end of the week. And the song is called The Unchanging. Super cool electronic pop track, kind of in the line of Living Lovely or Beautiful Dream or Through the Night. So really excited about that. Sent some voice memos back and forth with Tehila yesterday. She's getting settled in New York, St. Louis. She's getting settled at her new place in St. Louis, and things have been going well for her. She was sharing some details. I'm not going to tell her personal life on the stream, but just know that for those of you who are also friends with her, our girl's doing well. She's doing well. Things are falling into place for her in a really cool way. Brooklyn says, I've actually done it. So there it is, guys. It doesn't really matter what your opinion is. Homegirl has done it herself. You can't take away her testimony. There we go. That's great. Wonderful. This stuff looks a little bit ugly, but it's also kind of pretty because of all the colors. But that will be a nice kind of side salad type dish for like the next week. Love that. Vegetables. Okay, it's time to move on to the main event, my friends. So this soup that I make is really just a random concoction that I started years ago with just basically based on the ingredients that I had around. You can make this, excuse me, I know I'm off camera, I'm trying to get my trash can out of the way. You can make this with just about any vegetables that you want and just about any noodles that you want. But let me kind of give you the overview. It's going to be a single serving, so just like one large single serving. I haven't scaled this up a whole lot yet. We'll make it in a large pot. I'm going to turn down my air conditioning in my apartment because I'm hot in this hoodie. I could just take the hoodie off, but the problem is I got to cook and I'm wearing a white t-shirt. Got this when I saw Pillar in Dallas last fall. It was dope. But we're going to do some sauteed vegetables. I saute them probably in avocado oil with some soy sauce. Now, if I was going to eat the vegetables just on their own, I would toss them in soy sauce and honey, or you could do teriyaki sauce if you wanted. Really, any kind of sauce you want to coat those vegetables in. Tonight, I'm just going to be doing my onions, broccoli, and a little bit of carrots. So not a huge variety of vegetables, but it's a good way to just get myself to eat a lot of broccoli. Our broth is going to be some combination of beef bouillon, water, soy sauce, and then just whatever spices work well together. Probably some minced garlic, maybe a bit of coriander, maybe a tiny bit of curry powder, perhaps some lime juice, which I have a little bit of lime juice in the fridge actually. And then kind of whatever else we want to throw in there. And you can do whatever noodles you want. If you want to just be easy and basic, you can really just grab like a packet of ramen and it will be fine. But I did buy some udon rice noodles. Udon is like a medium circumference Japanese noodle. So we're going to be making those tonight. First, we need to finish off our vegetable prep by making sure that our broccoli is all good to go. So I'm going to go back to the cutting board here. And we won't have to spend a long time cutting broccoli because I got some pre-cut florets in my fridge. But I'm going to cut them down a little bit so that they flatten out and sit on the skillet to saute a little bit better. I'm just kind of paper toweling off my cutting board from all the lime juice and stuff. It doesn't have to be washed or anything just to cut this broccoli, but get a little bit of that stuff out of the way. Oh, and spinach. But we're not going to saute the spinach. What you can do is when the dish is totally finished and the broth is still really hot, you just kind of sprinkle some spinach over the top, and you just kind of let it wilt into the broth as kind of a finisher. So let's grab some broccoli and get to work. That's why I woke up today. I came to play. That's why I woke up today. I have to sing that song tomorrow, so I've been learning it. Okay, this looks like probably more than enough. Like, that's probably more than enough broccoli just for our soup. I'm gonna throw one of those back in there. We can saute the rest later on another day. But we just want to get this. The goal is, they can be big. That's probably actually, yeah, I probably won't even use all of this. But we want to get the broccoli into flat shapes so that it will lay flat on the skillet and get a more even heat when we're doing the sauteing. So I'm kind of like slicing the broccoli into slices almost, and then when I get to the end, I can just do some quarters or whatever. We can make these a little bit smaller. And you could, I'm sure you could scale this recipe up if you were feeding multiple people. But this is one of those soups that, because your vegetables go into it, I wouldn't say that it necessarily keeps in the fridge all that well, unless you just keep the vegetables separate. And then you can just make the noodles and stuff separately. Now for protein, sometimes I'll just crack an egg into my broth and let the broth cook the egg. But tonight, I think I'm going to do some chicken cubes. I have some chicken that I made yesterday. It's in the fridge. So I'll probably just, I guess I could warm it up by tossing it in the skillet. That's going to overcook it though. Maybe I'll just put some of it in the microwave. But I have some, just some chicken thighs that I made last night. So I think I'm going to put chicken in this soup this time. Or actually, most likely what I can do is drop the chicken into the broth when we're sort of near the end of the process and let the chicken boil in there a bit. That's probably a better way to reheat this chicken. So we've got, this looks like a pretty good amount of broccoli. I'll add a little bit more just because I know it's going to reduce. It's going to reduce once we get it into the skillet. So maybe use like about a quarter of this little dude here. Yeah, that'll be good. Normally I would slice up a carrot too. I don't have a whole carrot. I have some shredded carrots. Not perfect for this recipe, but it's fine. It's fine. It's going to work. Everything's fine. And then we already have our onions from earlier. So I'm going to make sure this onion is a little bit more broken up than it was before. So we don't have too big of a chunk. Kind of get those layers of the onion to separate. Again, for the same reason, so that they will lay a little bit flatter in the skillet and saute more consistently. The word saute is French. It just means jump, because you're jumping stuff in the skillet. To saute something properly, you want to do it on high heat. Now, if I was really, really fancy, I'm going to go ahead and get this. I'm going to get this pot going. I'm not going to get it up to a boil just quite yet, because I need to focus on my vegetables first, and I'm not quite that good at multitasking while I'm cooking yet. But we can kind of get the temperature up so that it's easy enough to get up to a boil pretty quickly. About a quart of water. That should be fine. And we'll just kind of get some heat, medium heat going on it just to start getting it warmed up. Now, I think, you might want to check me on this. Usually, like when you see ramen chefs making ramen, I believe, this is not ramen, this is udon. Ramen is just a type of noodle. But when you see chefs making kind of these various Japanese noodle dishes, if I'm understanding it correctly, usually they will boil the noodles in water separately and then add the cooked noodles to the soup broth. And I don't know entirely why that is. But I think it's because when you have salt in your soup broth, it raises the boiling point of the water such that you're actually cooking your noodles hotter. So that's a potential hazard of this whole situation. I'm not trying to use that many pots and pans, so I am going to boil my noodles in the soup broth. They're going to be fine. I promise they'll absorb a little bit more flavor. It'll be fine. But I believe there is a legitimate reason that people boil the noodles separately and then add them to the soup broth. I'm just not going to all that trouble tonight. Okay, so we're going to saute these vegetables. I'm going to get this pan heated up really hot. And I'm also going to prep my bowl to the side that we're going to serve this in. That way, once I'm finished sauteing the vegetables, I can just throw them in the bowl and let them sit off to the side. That way I can focus on one thing at a time. So we're going to get this pan nice and hot. While that's happening, let's get all of our vegetables grouped together. Already have our broccoli. Do a couple small handfuls of the onion. That should be just fine. And very carefully add some carrots to this. There we go. Nice little vegetable medley that we're going to be... Oh, that was a bit too much. It's fine. That's what's going to go into our soup that we're going to start by sauteing in the pan. What's up, Gus? Gus Train in the house. You came just in time to see the soup, man. I made the cucumber and chickpea salad first. So I've got my red onion, my broccoli, and some carrots here ready to be sauteed, and then we'll move on to the broth. I'm going to saute this in I think I am going to do some honey in this. Now, I know Abby, our good friend Abby, is in the chat. She has a physical, she's slightly allergic to honey. So Abby, I don't recommend you necessarily do the honey if you ever make this. But you can do it with just your oil, some soy sauce, or some teriyaki sauce if you can find like a honey-free teriyaki. I think some teriyakis have honey in them. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But we're going to saute this in avocado oil, soy sauce, and a little bit of honey. Abby says I'm going to make it right now. I love your spunk. Yeah, so I'm trying to, Gus, I'm trying to get better. He says, I love how if I was on Insta, he would say, hi, David, but here we go by my game name. I'm trying to get better at calling people by their usernames on live stream because I don't know who even wants people to know their real first name. Yeah. Callista says, I didn't know that Abby couldn't have honey. Abby and I have a running joke that whenever she has an EpiPen that's about to expire, she should just jam it in her legs and she's gonna have to get a new one anyway, and then like go eat some honey. Like go to one of those fancy stores in downtown Fort Worth that has like artisanal honey that's mixed with like bacon, spices, and cayenne pepper, and just try all the fancy honeys. Stick it in the leg, like Bane, hitting the venom, right? Like, all right, here we go. Okay. I can see some heat waves coming off of that skillet. That skillet should be decently hot now. We're going to add our avocado oil. I used to use olive oil, but olive oil has a pretty low smoke point, according to our good friends Jacob and Sarah. And even this is smoking. Wow, that's really hot. Okay, I probably need to actually back that off. If my avocado oil is smoking, probably need to back that off some. Get our pan nice and coated. Whoo, buddy. All right. I smell that. That's aggressive. I'm going to turn on my range hood because I don't want to set off the smoke detector in my apartment, which I have done many times. I'm keeping that off the heat for right now. We're going to add our vegetables very carefully. What a great sound. What a great sound. So, when you saute something, it's kind of a back and forth motion. It's more side to side than it is up and down. And you get that little flip at the edge of the pan. You're still going to make a little bit of a mess if you're not an absolute pro, and I'm not yet an absolute pro, but you see that little jump? That's pretty good. That's getting your stuff coated in the oil that you're using to saute them in. And again, you want to saute on a pretty hot, pretty high heat. I'm going to add a little bit more oil. And now we are also oh, Abby just sent me her. I've got some thumbnail submissions coming in. Now I'm gonna add our soy sauce. This is gonna sizzle more. It's gonna be louder. Woo! Yes, that's awesome. It smells good. Jump it again. Get it all coated. And it's amazing how much when you think you have too much vegetables, once you start getting them sizzling, they really get smaller, they reduce. And so now I'm looking at my vegetables thinking, you know, I probably could have actually used more more broccoli, more onion. And now, last thing, we're gonna add some honey to this and just do a little drizzle over the top. Often I'll just make vegetables this way anyway and store them in a container. You get them sauteed, they're nice and crispy. Come on, we need more heat, we need more heat. My onions are not reducing. And I'm going to be very Asian about this. Instead of using a bunch of cooking utensils, I'll just use the same chopsticks I'm going to eat the meal with to move this around a bit. Make sure those onions get nice and zapped. Learn to use chopsticks. It's useful. Oh my goodness, so much is going on in the chat. I'm gonna have to catch up on that later when I don't have vegetables sizzling in a pan. Yes, this looks so good. This looks so good. It smells great. You see that? You see this? This is wonderful. This makes me feel legit. Okay, that's probably enough time. Those vegetables are starting to get a little softer and we don't want to overcook them. So we're going to put them in this bowl over to the side. Let's all remember that that front left burner is hot. And by all of us, I mean me, Sam. Wow, I feel that. Let's turn that off. Set my pan over to the side on a burner that's not turned on and let it cool down. There is our bed of vegetables for our soup. That looks like a good single serving. It's pretty good. All right, soup time. I'm gonna start bringing this water kind of up to a boil. I'm gonna use some kind of beef bouillon stock type of stuff. Some minced garlic. We already have our soy sauce out. We're gonna start with those things and then just slowly build it up. And because it's a single serving, I'm not worried about anybody eating after me, so I'm gonna kind of taste as I go a little bit. But I've made this enough times before that shouldn't be a big deal. Now, usually, 1 teaspoon equals a bouillon cube from this stuff. So we'll use about maybe a little less than a teaspoon because we've got other stuff going in here. That lid is on there. Oh my gosh, it's gonna take 2 of these. If you don't have any of this like grippy stuff, it's very useful. I must have put this in there when it was warmer and the fridge sealed it. There we go, the cold in the fridge sealed it. Nice. So what did I say? A teaspoon, not a tablespoon, a teaspoon. Where are my measuring spoons? There they are. 1 teaspoon, we're gonna start with this. Flavor and texture, Gus says. Man, there's so much going on over here. Okay, hang on. I gotta catch up with the chat. Abby asked how Gus arrived at his username of Gus. Long story. Callista didn't know that Abby couldn't have honey. Gus has been having it as his game name since 2011. It's like very similar with me and Power Spike, right? Which, Callista asked the question earlier, if you had a call sign, and this is for anybody in Instagram or YouTube, what would your call sign in Top Gun be? Gus says sunflower oil is good. Gus is a legit chef. You guys saw him cooking on the show a couple of weeks ago. He knows what's up. Abby says it's like the same password you've had since middle school. I really did think all of your accounts had the same password. And I was like, Abby, you need to fix that. She doesn't, by the way. She doesn't, but he's still going, well, I started late, dude. I had to make 2 different things. Chill out. I'll be with you shortly. Love you. Gus says, I mean, if you like eating bee vomit, that's cool, I guess. Look. Clover honey from like Hamilton, Ohio is one of the most wonderful things. When you taste it, it's like there's cinnamon in it, even though there isn't. There's so much dimension. Your different honeys have different flavors because of the locale and the flowers that the bees were exposed to. Plus, honey is a natural disinfectant. Plus, if you eat honey from your local area, it will actually fight allergies because it introduces into your system the pollen of the area that you're living in, and it makes your body more resistant to that area. Plus, it's biblical. So don't argue with me, argue with the Bible. Didn't say that the land was flowing with milk and avocado oil. That's all I'm saying. Francisco thought of a call sign. All right, Francisco, what would your Top Gun call sign be? All right, this water is boiling. I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to add a little bit. It's actually reduced on us. We've reduced out a lot of this, so I'm going to add some more water to it. All right. We'll start off with a teaspoon of bouillon. Actually, that's kind of a lot. It's going to keep reducing, so we'll be fine. I also don't want to pour boiling water down my sink into my garbage disposal. That's not smart. Okay. Come over here. Come with me. Come with me, my friends. Let me see if I can get this camera up a little bit higher so that you can see what we're doing. Get a little bit more over the shoulder view, right? And then tilt you down. Yeah, that feels like a cooking show now, right? Francisco River, call sign Jetstream. All right, Jets, that's cool. Isn't that, no, I was going to say that's a Decepticon, but it's not. That's Starscream. So yeah, Jetstream. All right. Sure you don't want to use chemtrail? That's a conspiracy theory joke. I'm totally messing with you. All right, so that's step 1. We've added our beef bouillon to it. Now, honestly, like I can be kind of liberal with the amount of soy sauce I add to this. Nobody said you had to drink all of the broth if you're trying to cut down on sodium, but if you've seen the amount of like soy sauce that like sometimes Asian folks will put into their rice and eggs, you know, you can be a little bit more liberal with it. Now, we can start to have a little bit of fun. Gonna add in, I don't have a lot of minced garlic left, but I've got more than enough for this recipe. I'm gonna start with 1 teaspoon. We might add more later on. But I like garlic, so we can be kind of liberal with this. There we go, got a teaspoon in there. Now, kind of comes the fun part where we can just sort of play around with what spices we have. Black pepper, it's not gonna hurt anything. Add some of that. What do we have? We have garlic powder. I already added garlic, I don't need to do that. I have curry powder. I might use a little bit of that, but not too much. Curry can really overpower the flavor profile of certain things. So ginger's good. Red cayenne pepper, just a little bit of that can go a long way, but that can be good. Parsley goes good in all kinds of soups. What else do I have? Onion powder, I'll use a little bit of that, not much. Paprika probably isn't appropriate for this recipe. Do I have coriander? I have marjoram, that'll be fine. I don't have coriander right now, but I do have some crunchy garlic chili sauce. I'm gonna put some of that in there. This stuff actually is not as spicy as you would think. It's pretty mild. But we'll start with that. Add a little bit of spice to this. Maybe about a half a teaspoon. It's chili oil, I think with some peanut mixed in, I'm not sure, but we'll go ahead and get that in there. We're just chefing, you know? Parsley flakes, that's cool. That goes in soup. Just kind of adding whatever is complementary to a savory flavor. There's not a lot of rules here. As Bob Ross once said, it's your world. Ginger I think is great. Oh, and we're gonna add some lime to this later too. Yeah, ginger goes really well in Asian flavored dishes, and we've already got the soy sauce in there. So this is just some ginger powder, add that in there. Not a lot. We'll see if it needs more later. Red cayenne pepper, I'm gonna wait on this to see how much that chili oil did because I'm not trying to blast myself out. Onion powder, probably don't need much of this, just a little. Marjoram, which I don't know as much about this like leafy spice. Oh, but that smell will work in just fine. It's giving me like a Thanksgiving turkey vibe. Okay, we're gonna boil our noodles just directly in our broth. Like I said, more professional people who like make this kind of dish for a living would probably boil the noodles in water to the side so that the boiling point is a little bit lower. I'm not trying to do all those dishes. I'm not trying to do all that work. So we're just gonna add our udon rice noodles. And these have to boil for about 10 minutes. So at about, let's say the 7-minute mark, I'm gonna add my chicken cubes in to warm them back up because I cooked them the other day and they've just been in the refrigerator. Let me get the top off of this. I don't really think I need to use this entire package. This looks like about 2 servings to me. Okay, it says it's 4 servings, but I like noodles, so I'm gonna use about half of this container. I think that should be fine. The trick is, how do I do that? How do I separate that out? Like this. Yes. Get a bundle. Nice, healthy udon bundle. Drop that in there. Grab my chopsticks as they get soft. Just kind of use that to push them down into the water. Hey Siri, set a timer for 7 minutes. So at the 7-minute mark, I'm going to drop my chicken in.
Starting now.
At the 7-minute mark, I'm going to drop my chicken in, and we'll heat it up for the last 3 minutes in our boiling broth. Okay, while we wait on that, let's get some of these dishes out of the way and put a few of our ingredients up. Udon Bundle is my new band name, says Nathan Abney Music. What's up, Nathan? I'm still waiting to be regaled by your stories of your trip to Japan, my friend. Super stoked about that. But yes, Udon Bundle is a pretty good, like, indie rock band name, right? So we can go ahead and put our broccoli, onions, carrots back into the fridge. We're finished with those. We sauteed them earlier. They're already in our bowl. And you know what? I think I am going to do an egg. I'm going to do 1 egg for this just to make it super fancy. Means I'll have 1 less egg for breakfast tomorrow morning. I might have to go to the dollar store tomorrow, but whatever. Toward the end of the process, I'm also going to drop an egg in there and just let it become one with the broth, baby. Abby says you have a lot to catch up in this chat, Sam. I know, but if I can do some of my dishes now, it's going to save me time later. So I'll look back over the chat when we sit down to eat together here in a few minutes, right? Man, most of this stuff I'm going to have to hand wash. I don't want to hand wash all these dishes. You know what? The pot's going in the dishwasher. I made some more passion fruit green tea earlier today, and thanks to my friend Cameron, I have a bunch of mason jars with lids now. So those of you who are like, hey Sam, can I get some more of that tea? I can more readily deliver on that now. You can see a bunch of them actually drying over here right now. Oh no, my vegetable brush. How could I? Rachel! Rachel, are you back yet? I took that funny video of your roommate just for you, and I'm not spreading it around on the internet because I'm protecting her her public image. She looks fine in it, but she probably wouldn't want it spread around. But it was hilarious, and it turned out better than I ever could have hoped. Nathan says I'm instigating. You can just ignore me. Did Sam just tell us that his dishes are more important than his fans? I feel like I'm in K-pop Demon Hunters right now. I have to be like, but the fans. Nah, dude, here's the thing. If I can get my dishes done a little bit quicker, then that means when the stream is over, I have less work to do. This weekly cooking show and conversation piece has turned into a lot more work than you would think, dude. Like before the show even gets started, I've got to get OBS pulled up. I've got to get all of the stream keys pulled over for the streaming like websites. I have to get my lighting set up, my camera set up, get all my cables run. It's kind of a production up in here. All right, how much time do I have on that timer? 3 minutes. That should be at least enough time to wash this cutting board, right? I think I can accomplish that. Noodles are just boiling away over here. Looking good. I never did taste the broth. We'll taste it a little bit later. See if it needs anything added, but I'm sure it'll be fine. All those ingredients should work together pretty well. Ah, Rachel, you're not back in town until Friday. That's over on Instagram. So we've got a pretty good, healthy group of people on both YouTube and Instagram tonight. Love that. For those of you who are just joining, we were talking about that my new song, or I mentioned earlier rather, that my new song called The Unchanging, featuring our mutual friend Tahila, we're looking at a release date of June 26th for that. I was just talking to Kevin at NRT Music, the label, earlier today about setting up that release. So lots of exciting things going on. And some of you, we leaked some of that audio a couple weeks ago. And then there's others here in the chat that have actually just heard it, like in person. So, super excited about that. Jacob left. What could he be working on? Cassie says, Sam, I need to see the Nixie vid. That's either going to have to happen in person or you're going to have to talk to Rachel because I'm not going to put it on the internet. Nixie was a good sport about it. We did get a good laugh about it. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing bad about it. But I'm not going to post it online. All right, what's our time looking like? Fourth time to add the chicken. 1.5 minutes. I think I can wash this plastic container in 1.5 minutes. I had to change out my sponges today. I kept washing stuff. I was using dish soap. I was using hot water, all the things. And it was still leaving like a greasy film on stuff when it would dry, and I'd have to wash it again or put it through the dishwasher or something. Turned out I just needed to throw away my old sponge. It had come to the end of its life. It didn't look bad. It still looked pretty clean, but it was holding too much like beef and chicken grease, I guess. I know that's gross, but that's just kitchen life, man. Rachel said, I will say I haven't laughed that hard in a while. I told you guys I was going to do it. That's the thing. It was not, it was in no way, was it not something that I hadn't said weeks before was going to happen. I just followed through. I followed through. All right, we're just about to come back over here to our soup. It's looking great. Right there. See if I have enough time to put some jars back in my cabinet. I like to use the jars for my boba tea. That way I can keep my regular cups for regular stuff. Plus I can just put more in a jar. He did it all in 3 days. I came back. That's why I woke up today. Ooh, I came back. There we go. There is our timer. So that means it's time to add our chicken. We're just going to heat our chicken back up by tossing it in with these noodles. They're looking good. All right, that's pretty healthy. We'll toss in a handful of this chicken so we get some protein in our soup. Hey Siri, set a timer for 3 minutes.
3 minutes starting now.
And then I'm also just going to crack this raw egg into our soup, and the soup's going to cook it. So we'll just kind of swirl it around and kind of scramble it in. I do this with soups all the time. It's very safe. It will cook out. Oh gosh, I just lost a bunch of it. That's okay. I didn't lose all of it. Lost a bunch of the egg white, which is unfortunate because that's the part I really wanted, but it's okay. I just cracked it a little bit too aggressively on the side of the sink wall there. And it kind of starts to look like egg drop soup when you do that. Yeah, I don't know if you can see this. The egg yolk is kind of sitting in there, and the egg whites, they separate a little bit. So I'm just going to grab that egg yolk and just kind of mess it up a little bit, scramble that in a little bit. And there we go. We got some chicken and some eggs. You can see kind of those particles. They've already, yeah. See, that's already cooked up. That's eggs in there. So after those 3 minutes, we should be able to kind of taste test this, see if anything else needs to be added. Pour it in over our vegetables, and that's it. We're finished. While that finishes up, I'm going to get a little clip, see if I can seal up these noodles. I don't know if I can seal up these noodles, guys. Not very well. I'll just have to make this again tomorrow night. Do it the fast way tomorrow. I'm going to get rid of the beef bouillon. I really don't think we're going to need any more of that. Marjoram is probably fine here. The teaspoon out of the way. The Claude is in the chat, and he's cooking. Jacob is probably making dinner at the same time I'm making dinner. He and I have very similar schedules, though. We are night owls at our core. My grandmother was a night owl. I think I really got it from her. She would routinely be up till 1 a.m. easy, even in her grandmother part of her life. Me, like, I can very easily stay up to 3 a.m. and not blink about it. Now, I will sleep in late the next day, but that just seems to kind of be my natural rhythm that I fall into a lot. We have some thumbnails that have come through, so we'll have those to look at when we sit down and eat. It's going to be cool. I love cooking with chopsticks because it normally saves you having to use a whole lot of other utensils. They're so multifaceted. You can just grab stuff. You can move stuff around. It's like being able to stick your fingers in there without getting burned. Love that. Yeah. Oh, that looks good. Noodles are in good shape. We'll just have to taste the broth and make sure it all came out all right, or if we need to add a little bit more of anything else. And that's our timer. We're going to take this off of the heat so we don't overcook the noodles. I'm going to grab a soup spoon, and this stuff was just boiling, so I have to be very careful. I'm going to get just a tiny bit of that broth, cool it down. That's perfect. That doesn't need anything. The soy sauce is going a long way to keep it savory. All those different spices we added are blending really well. I don't need to do a thing to that. That's wonderful. Okay, so let's get a little bit of a downward camera angle here so you can kind of see this pour. We have our vegetables right there. So those are all the vegetables that we sauteed earlier. Our broccoli, carrots, onions. And now this is the rest of our soup, our noodles, chicken, and our egg. And we're just gonna pour that in. That's gonna heat those vegetables back up. I mean, they've cooled down since they were in the skillet last. Beautiful. All right, now the last thing we're gonna do, and again, this is just my personal recipe. It kind of changes every time. It depends on what spices I have on hand. We're gonna mix that together so you can kind of start to see the broccoli and the onion coming up to the top a little bit. Okay, come with me over here. I realize I say that as if you have any will of your own, but I have to move you. You are, in fact, just a camera. And then the last finishing touch we're going to do is I have a spring mix here of baby spinach and baby kale. We can just grab that, get a nice little handful of that. Doesn't have to be a ton. We're going to garnish the top, and then using our chopsticks and our spoon, we're just going to lightly press that down into the broth. The broth is going to heat it up and wilt that down really nicely. And we're done. We're finished. That's wonderful. I wish you could smell what I'm smelling. This is one thing I'm pretty good at because I've been making it for years and I just sort of made it up on my own. Abby says my call sign would be La Migra or Border Patrol. Nathan says, I'm a night owl by nature, but a morning person by force. I get that. Like when I was in Bible school, I had to be a morning person every day. And I was good at it. Like I'm good at disciplining myself when I need to do things, when I need to make a change. But I will fight tooth and nail to keep my night owl, my tendencies, because the world seems to kind of like arbitrarily be built for morning people. But why? Why? There's like half of us are the other way. Like we should fight back. All right, we're going to lower this camera. Go over here to where the lighting isn't as good, but go over here to my table, sit down and try this. We're going to eat. You're going to have to forgive me. It's going to take a moment because I've got to get the laptop moved over too so I can take a look at the chat. And we're going to check out the thumbnail submissions from tonight. We had several come in. I know we have one from Abby. We've got one from Melanie who sent it to me earlier. I don't think she's currently here with the stream, but she did send it to me earlier. And then I think I have one from Callista, it looked like came through. So I'll check all of my accounts, make sure I don't miss anything. There we go. That's wonderful. All right. So I'm going to let that cool down just a little bit. It's super hot because, you know, it was boiling for a long time. But, like, look at that. Got our noodles, got our vegetables. Chicken, egg. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Let me grab my phone, which is over there. Gus says, so you won't read mine? I'm sorry. I need to go back up. Where did you put it? Resealable noodles. I didn't. I might have to put them in another bag. Gus, where is yours? My call sign is... Isn't that a slur? Is it a slur? I don't know. Or border hopper? So we got border hopper and border control on the same team. That's I would watch that movie. That would be an interesting movie. We got Cassie on Instagram. We've got Cassie and Rachel over here just like making plans to bro down. RSVPing in the chat. Nathan says, my work has flexible hours, but getting in earlier means I get off at 3:30 or 4, which feels so much nicer. That's facts. That's understandable. Like, having the rest of the day feels great. I will say that, like, I love jobs that are more task-based than hours-based because there's almost nothing more valuable to me than my time. And if I can find, like, kind of, if I can hack away ethically, but if I can ethically figure out a way to get my job done in less time, I don't see why I should have to be punished by, like, having to spend more time sitting at a desk arbitrarily. But that's just my feeling about work in general. Abby says, notice how he almost said it too. He has experience. I don't know. I don't know if it is. I know. I genuinely don't know. Let me Google this. Yes, it's a highly offensive and derogatory racial slur used primarily in the United States to refer to Mexican immigrants. for those of you who don't know, Gus is Mexican, so if anybody's allowed to say it, he is. That PR came so fast. Don't forget that when I was getting my master's degree, I was in business. I had MBA courses and communications, which included PR stuff. I'm aware. Sam's PR is so built in, he detected that. You know it. You know that's right, dude. Did you just assume my race? I didn't assume your race. I know your race, brother. I know you in real life. Okay, hang on. Abby, you sent me two. They're both awesome. Is one of them your final? These are both wonderful. But you, Abby, tell me if everyone's. And I've got Jacob sending me something that says Gemini sent me. Is he going to eat the soup? I am going to eat the soup, but here's the problem. I have to download all of these. Submissions for the thumbnail. Okay, I got Callista's. I got Abby's. They're both wonderful. I'm gonna go. I'll just pick one of the two. I have Jacob. Ha! The video is hilarious. Like, obviously, it's not a thumbnail. I don't even think it'll let me download the video. But okay, but he did send me a thumbnail, like an image. So I'm downloading that. Brooklyn says she sent me one for the first time. That's hilarious, though. I love that. Oh, no, it will let me save it. I'm so sorry. I know, I literally told them immediately. I'm doing a million things at once. I am letting the soup cool down a bit. Okay, let me go to my Instagram DMs here because there's probably some in here. Okay, I got one from Francisco. All right, Francisco, I got yours. And Brooklyn. All right, I got one from Brooklyn. Yeah, this is her first one. I love the taglines on this. Okay, I think I've got all of them downloaded. Genuinely, it might even be hard for me to figure out who all of these came from. There's a lot of them this week, which is awesome. Like, how cool is that? Looks like we have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, plus Jacob's just like fun video. Nathan, don't troll me right now, man. I want to eat eventually. Okay, I got to airdrop all of these to my computer. I'll pull them up in preview and we'll look at them together here in just a moment. This soup is still really hot. Like, I touched this bowl and it's threateningly hot, but we're going to be all right. It smells awesome. I want to take this hoodie off so bad because it's hot in my apartment. I'm gonna put the temperature down another degree, dude. Because I can't get this soup broth all over my white t-shirt, dog. Doesn't help that my kitchen is just hot from the cooking. All right. Before we look at... Nathan, you didn't like my thumbnail? We'll talk about it later. Okay, we're going to eat this soup, and then we're going to look at some thumbnails. Oh, the texture of the noodles is so good. The cool thing about udon is that since it is such a thick noodle, it holds up under more heat and longer cooking time. Now these might be slightly overcooked, but they still push back enough. Oh, that's great. Let's get some of this broccoli here. Oh, the broth is working. You know what I am? I am going to add some lime to this broth, though. Yeah, that hot broth heated our chicken up just perfectly there. I'm going to add some lime juice to this, which is really more of a Vietnamese thing to do, not so much a Japanese thing to do. But this is just a very generally Asian-inspired dish. It's not technically a specifically Asian dish. It's just kind of a hodgepodge of some things I've picked up along the way. But again, great way to like get myself to eat more vegetables, get some protein with the chicken and the egg. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? In this case, it's kind of both of them. Okay. Calista says, perfect rainy weather for soup. Right you are. Okay. Making sure I didn't miss anything. Nathan's just sending me like screen grabs of myself on stream. That's hilarious. Okay. Give me just a moment. I got to get this stuff pulled up in preview. Oh, the movie I have to open in QuickTime. So hang on. Let's do just the stills first. And forgive me, I may not remember who all submitted what here. So, and I'm trying to cram everything onto my screen at the same time and still make it viewable. I really need a second screen for this stream. It's becoming a whole production. All right, we need to add not a media source. I go through this every week. I think it's a screen capture. We do a new screen capture. We do an application capture. And we're going to grab preview. Should be somewhere down this list. Perfect. All right, here we go, guys. Time to look at some thumbnails together. So this one is from Melanie Vastine. She's not currently in the chat. She sent this to me earlier today, but I think she just grabbed like a picture of me. So there's a lot to love here, though, especially since she just kind of knew what I was making. Top Gun, Top Ramen. What a great tagline. Soup Maverick, it says here. I have a ladle full of hot soup in the open cockpit of like my F-18 or whatever this thing is. I'm flying over a sea of broth filled with bok choy and red peppers, and I think there's some gyoza in there. Yeah, definitely that looks like some pot stickers, some gyoza in there. There's this dude like directing traffic. He says flavor above all. Noodles, danger, flavor above all. Also, it gave me a hairy chest, which I definitely do not have a hairy chest, but and also very hairy forearms, which I have neither of those things, but it was going for it. So that, and I don't know what these characters say. They look Chinese to me. I don't think those are Japanese. If they are Japanese, they would be kanji. They don't look like katakana to me, but I don't know my Japanese very well. So I don't know what language this is, but it says, you know, it probably is Japanese because I told her what I was making. So I might have to translate that later. So that's from Melanie. Ah. Nathan says the kanji on the fuselage of the aircraft really sells this one. Jacob says we're watching you on the big TV for dinner. I love that. I love that you guys are just like sitting on your couch watching Let Him Cook. That's how you know it's become an institution. That like it's bringing the whole family together. I'm going to take another bite of this soup and we're going to go to the next thumbnail. Oh! This is awesome. I did such a good job, you guys. Nathan says the middle character is definitely hiragana. The other two are kanji. Jacob says it says flying noodles. Gus says they got you on the big screen. Now you got to do a Minecraft Let's Play. Would you guys show up for that if we did a Minecraft Let's Play? Oh my goodness. Okay, time for the next one. And give me just a moment. I gotta go back and make sure I know whose is whose. This one's from Brooklyn. So I'm cheesing hard in this one. This pilot is very excited. Oh, but we got the @SamuelDayOfficial at the top, and we also have the name of the stream, right? So like here we have Top Gun Top Ramen, but here we actually have the name of the show. We have Let Him Cook at the top. And I love AI generated taglines. I'm learning it's one of my new favorite things. For the first tagline, it says in the kitchen, in the zone, in his prime. In the zone, like danger zone, come on. Some talk, he delivers. Focus, discipline, flavor. That's wonderful. Focus, discipline, flavor at the bottom. And then we got a little patch on the shoulder here, right? Pressure makes diamonds. Let him cook patch on the front. Let him cook on the helmet. Man, I love all the little details. I love taking the time to appreciate all the little details and how like we're emulating the design style of Top Gun very clearly in the title of this one. I just think that's so cool. Good job, Brooklyn. Good to see one from you. That's your first one. I gotta slurp. I gotta do it. It's so... Ah! It's so nice. And Jacob says, I want this one to win just so that Cheesin has to be on his profile forever. Well, hey, look. It's up to the popular vote. It's not up to me. All right. On to the next one, my friends. I got to figure out who this came from. I think this might be... Okay, this one's from Francisco. All right. So we got the full flight suit in this one. And I love that it replaced the bowl of vegetables under my arm with the helmet. It says Captain Sam. You know that's right. Lots of great Easter eggs in this one too. Obviously, we're on the deck of a carrier. You can actually still see the real T-shirt I was wearing. Top Gun on the shirt. Little coffee cup here that says "Good food, great pilots. Let him cook." Whatever AI you guys are using to generate these really likes 3-lined catchphrases. Boom, boom, bam. All right. Then over the shoulder we have "I feel the need for speed. Let him cook." What's also really impressive about this is how I'm in focus in the foreground, but all of this other stuff is bokeh'd out. It's out of focus in the background, but so it's blurry, but you can still read it. It's still legible. I actually think that's really impressive. And then we have like flight deck director on this guy. Yeah, and also again the name of the stream is incorporated. It's not a rule right now that your thumbnail has to have the name of the stream in it. But I think it certainly helps so that like when people are going through the archive of these recordings on YouTube, they can actually see the name of the show. Again, you guys vote, you guys decide, but I always think it's neat when you can incorporate the actual name of the show. All right, on to the next one, my friends. I'm sorry, I know my mouth is full. But I'm really hungry, and this is really good, and I don't want it to get cold. All right, I gotta figure out who this next one is from. Okay, this one is from Sarah Smith Clodfelter. Again, whose music video for Dear Martha just came out. Go check that out on her YouTube channel. It's beautiful, beautiful song, beautiful production by J.L. Clodfelter, and I, your boy, shot, edited, and color graded the video. So definitely a group effort, came out great. But here comes Sarah's Let Him Cook. Okay, so this is giving me Top Gun meets Transformers, right? We got Transformers, Michael Bay, and I think it's because I said Michael Bay earlier. Yeah, so it definitely got Michael Bay with a huge mushroom cloud. Michael Bay loves explosions. Michael Bay loves sparks in the foreground of things. Michael Bay loves the teal and amber color scheme where there's blues and oranges all throughout. Go watch Transformers 1 through 3. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, that one's Jacobs? Okay, I'm sorry, that one's Jacobs. Jacob just corrected me there. So yeah, Michael Bay. Michael Bay loves big explosions. He loves foreground sparks and ambient occlusion, and he loves the teal and amber color scheme. It's the summer blockbuster look that he's really got a corner on. So it's giving me like this futuristic flight suit. I like that it knows that I had a bowl of vegetables under my arm, but it's like those vegetables are ugly. Let me replace that with nicer looking vegetables. With like a completely intact vine of tomatoes and some garlic and what is that, basil in there? That's wonderful. And then like the robotic arms back here repairing the airplanes and cooking, like my high-tech kitchen of the future. We're going to be starting Sam's high-tech kitchen of the future GoFundMe fund here really soon, so that we can build this out and make this a reality. Jacob says, you said Starscream. That's true. And if you remember, in the Transformers movies, Starscream not only disguises himself as a fighter jet, but he projects a hologram of like a pilot, I think wearing aviators, into the cockpit to fool people. So bravo, my friend. Very Starscream indeed. And we even got the call sign here, Power Spike. There it is. Spelled correctly, too. Yeah. I love this high-tech blender. Juicer. I bet that's the juicer. That's the juicer we're talking about. It's all there. All right, my friends, on to the next one. Let me take a look, see if I can figure out who this next one came from. And I only say figure out because they come through like 3 different sources. Some people text them to me. Some people send them on Instagram DMs. Okay, you guys might have to help me on this one. I don't know. I'm going to have to trace back. Okay, this one's from Callista. I found it. This is Callista's. Boom! All right, once again. So we doubled down on the call sign here. Call sign is what's featured top and center. This one did not replace my vegetables. It kind of retextured my vegetables, though. Like, you can tell they're the same vegetables, but there's a little bit of retexturing happening here. I'm very clearly in the navy. But we got Top Gun branding on the helmet. Love that. What's interesting is that you can see the reflection in the helmet of what looks to be like a softbox or my kitchen. I'm not sure how it did that. I'm a little creeped out by that. Power spike. Got some cool patches on the flight suit here. This is definitely giving like 1980s, 1990s movie poster, right? Like huge explosions, a single jet cresting over in the background, flames in the foreground. There's a lot going on. Power spike patch on the jacket. I feel the need to cook. Again, Top Gun reference, so like points for the movie reference, right? JL says, points to this one for genuinely looking like the VHS cover of a 2000s B film you'd find at Blockbuster. Actually, that's a better description than what I said. This totally looks like a B movie because of the way that, like, clearly I'm not lit the same way as the rest of the background. Clearly I'm on a green screen and I've just been composited in. But that's what gives it the charm, right? Again, you would find this at Blockbuster. Your grandmother would mistake it for Top Gun, would bring it home, you'd start watching it, and you'd all go, what the heck is this? This isn't Top Gun. Yeah. I love the kitschiness of this. The, like, throwback factor here. Okay. Technically, we have one more, but really it's two more. These are the ones from Abby, and we'll have to pick one for her final entry, but they're both fun. So here's one from Abby. We got Let Him Cook with a American flag bleached into the clouds. That's wonderful. I love that, again, we got the name of the stream here with, like, the presidential, like, flyover thing happening on the deck of a carrier. And we have a little change up. Instead of power spike, she went with the Griffin call sign, which now that I'm seeing it, like, on a helmet, that goes hard. I'm kind of feeling it. And I love that, what's the story here? What's the narrative? That I am on the deck of a flight carrier in the midst of, like, maybe after just having succeeded in combat, carrying what? A bowl of vegetables. Like ruggedly carrying a plastic bowl of vegetables as the sun sets behind me. And I can almost hear the eagles screeching in the background, right? That's hilarious. All right, let's go to the alternate. This one goes really hard too. You got the sun shining through the American flag. You got the flyover. You still got Griffin on the helmet. I don't know, guys. You guys are gonna have to help me out. Over here we got the USS Ronald Reagan. It says freedom isn't free, neither is awesome. Was there any other like catchphrases on this one that I missed? No other catchphrases on here. The catchphrase is hilarious. Freedom isn't free, neither is awesome. All right, chat. We need to do a little mini vote here of Abby's 2 entries. Which do we like better? Do we like number 1 better? Right, the kind of blazing sunset one. Or do we like number 2 better? Like the grittier. I will say I really like not only just the silly catchphrase, but I also really like how wet the flight deck looks in this one. Like, this is something you would see in a lot of 2000s action movies too, where like the ground is wet a lot to kind of give you that high density reflection thing going on. So let's get some votes in here. Let's see who likes number 1 versus number 2, and that will kind of choose Abby's official entry for us. Francisco says, I like the first one. Abby says, I like the first one. Callista says, I like the first one. Abby says, as the person who wrote the prompt, please use number 1. Okay, sounds like number 1 is our winner for Abby's official entry. And that's all of our thumbnails, guys. So let me get rid of this screen capture. And we're back. All right, my friends. So, what like awesome thumbnail submissions tonight? Jacob JL says, you went to war to fight for your wife, who's the only vegetarian in the USA that ran out of greens. You're bringing it back. I love that. Do you all know what a MacGuffin is? So a MacGuffin, it's a movie term for an object that everybody is chasing around. Lots of movies have a MacGuffin. Mission Impossible 3 has the rabbit's foot. The Marvel Infinity Saga has the Infinity Stones or the Infinity Gauntlet. They're a MacGuffin. Indiana Jones movies almost always have a MacGuffin, like the Kingdom of Crystal Skull. The Crystal Skull is it's like the object everybody is chasing after, and it propels the plot forward. I love that in this fictional universe, the MacGuffin is literally just like a bowl of fresh vegetables. All right, guys. Well, we're just about to wrap up the live stream. Thank you all for hanging out on both Instagram and YouTube tonight. As I made a bowl of fresh vegetables to bring back from the war, as I made my Asian-inspired soup, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, here pretty soon, we're going to have a stream coming up with our good friend Nate the Great, Nate Ellis. We're going to do a grill-out stream. We're going to grill some various meats, and he's going to be the master of the kitchen for that one. We're working on a date for that. It'll probably be next week, maybe Monday for Memorial Day. But I don't know if everybody would be available to hang out then. So maybe Monday for Memorial Day or maybe Tuesday night like normal. We did mention that. So my newest song, You Were Always Good, just came out a few weeks ago. Thank you all for streaming it. Thanks to the radio stations that are playing it. Through the Night is still on the radio charts. It's been on the charts for like 20 weeks now. Praise the Lord for that. That's so awesome. And there was actually a press release article that NRT Music put out about several of us on the label that have been charting for like a good, healthy amount of time recently. JL says, bro, can I please show up? I want meats. Maybe we can do like a group hangout. This is really growing into where I think like a studio audience and a lot of guest chefs are just kind of in the future, right? But we also talked about our deep thought of the day, and this one is one that everybody may not agree on, but it was something that stood out to me in some not just some conversations I had recently, but I've also heard this taught on, and it really revolutionized the way I thought about this. So to kind of end things back up, to put this back in your head, we talked about how in Mark 11, verses 25 and 26, Jesus says, and it's in red letters, Jesus says, whenever you stand praying, if you have anything against anyone, forgive him, that your Father in heaven may forgive you your trespasses. But if you do not forgive, neither will your Father in heaven forgive your trespasses. That sounds really scary. It's in red. It's in the words of Jesus. It sounds really scary. Like, man, if I'm struggling to walk in forgiveness, or if I die unexpectedly while I'm still dealing with forgiveness, and am I in big trouble? Well, then you move forward in the New Testament. You go to Ephesians chapter 4:32, and I believe there's a scripture in Colossians that says something similar. And it says, be kind to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, even as God in Christ forgave you. And that's in past tense. That's already done. So this is one of those instances where we have to remember that the words of Jesus are very important, and we're not trying to just throw them away. But when Jesus spoke that, he hadn't finished his ministry yet. He hadn't finished his work on the cross yet. And so then in Ephesians, it says we still have the imperative to forgive very strongly. We're supposed to forgive. But now it's saying, forgive because you've already been forgiven. Forgive because God has already forgiven you. So it's coming out of an overflow of what has been done for you rather than just a commandment to do so. So that's food for thought, right? When we look on the other side of the cross, and there are other things that we kind of see this way, where they're talked about differently once the cross is completed. And that's one of the big ones. It's a big food for thought one. And it's one where people can read that scripture in Mark 11 and be like, well, man, God's not going to forgive me. If I don't sow forgiveness, I can't reap forgiveness. Well, if you're not sowing forgiveness, you might have a harder time receiving it. Now, even after the cross, you might have a harder time receiving it because of the way you're choosing to walk. But we talked about before how sometimes you can make the choice to forgive and your emotions can still take time to catch up. Don't feel bad about that. Just stick to your decision, even though it could take months or years for your emotions to catch up. All right. Well, you still made a choice. So that was our deep thought of the day, kind of comparing Mark 11, 25 and 26 to Ephesians 4:32. And we kind of see that difference, that dividing line. It's really interesting. All right, guys. This soup is wonderful. I wish you could smell this. I wish you could taste this. But you watched me make it. So arguably, if you get the same ingredients, you can make it yourself. I'm going to jump off of here and finish my dinner. Thank you all for hanging out with me, as always, on a Tuesday night from wherever you're coming at in the world, whether you're on YouTube or Instagram. Remember that brand new song, The Unchanging, featuring most of our mutual friend Tehila, is coming out. Looks like it's going to be June 26th. I was just having conversations about that today. Really excited about that. But we've had 3 releases so far this year, and thank you all for supporting them so much. I'm going to finish my dinner and play some games with my friends. I love you all. Until next time, onward and upward.
at me sideways, gotta be a dream. Like how's he about to rise up out the dust and make a scene? But you and I both know how far I've come. That makes me dangerous. But I can't take all credit for this. I'll still hold the flame in this place. And I'm gonna rise, yeah. Oh, I'm gonna rise, yeah. They've been looking at me sideways, gotta be a dream. Like how's he about to rise up out the dust and make a scene? But you and I both know how far I've come. I learned that from Jesus, get up and run. And I'm gonna rise, yeah. Oh, I'm gonna rise, yeah. Can't take all credit for this. I still hold the flame in this place. And I'm gonna